course, is leading the army. Let's go and see how his afternoon is going.
Well, we hope we've beaten the gremlins. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this end of the Sunset Safari. My name is James Hendry. That's my cheesiest smile. David is on camera with his spanky new hat, both of us wearing long sleeves on account of the fact... Show us your long sleeve, David. On account of the fact that the sun is so blindingly hot today. 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I said, 100 degrees Fahrenheit over here in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. You may talk to us as you have been talking, no doubt, to Ralph, the Marshmallow King, and his beautiful consort Taylor, the Marshmallow Queen, there in the Maasai Mara, using the hashtag Safari Live, or, of course, the chat stream on YouTube. We are sitting here with some Wildebeest, or Wildebeest, as they say, and I don't think we've lost any of them. I still think that there are 6. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 baby Wildebeestes. They are unspeakably cute little things. Quite amazing how an animal can go from being so unspeakably cute to looking so unspeakably gormless in the space of just 18 months. Really quite a miracle of nature, that. Anyway, that's the way of things. I don't know if this is the same herd that bred here last year. I seem to remember we had 11 babies last year. And I have yet to see, well, I think I've seen one wildebeest kill with the lions in the last year or so here. So I think probably the wildebeest numbers are doing quite well up here in the Sabi Sands. They traditionally do fairly poorly for various reasons, but I think they're doing okay now. Now, we're just parked right in front of the Djuma camp, in front of Weatela, on account of the fact that there's water here and shade, and we hoped that we'd find animals coming to us rather than us having to go to them, and so it has proved the case. I have been sat here during the course of the gremlin fiasco that we had in order to get to you today, trying desperately to take a photograph of a woodland kingfisher that was having a bath. Naturally, the world's very slowest photographer failed to get anything useful. But while we were sitting here, David managed to spot a lagavan. Is it still there? I might sneak forward, should I? And by a lagavan, I mean a monitor lizard. I don't know where the word comes from, but in South Africa, we tend to call these large lizards... Oh, there he is. He's just next to the log there on the right-hand side. We call them legavans, or, if you're being stupid, lagavans. And there it is, a water lagavan, just looking for something delicious to eat in amongst the green vegetation of summer. Marvellous. Now, that lagavan, which probably extends to, say, just under 3 feet. They do get much bigger than that, but that's roughly his size. He looks like a fairly innocuous creature, and something that you could perhaps just walk up to and catch if you wanted to. If you were to catch that thing, the strength in its tail would absolutely astonish you as it swished it from side to side, and would probably do quite a lot of damage if you didn't manage to arrest its movement before it started swatting on your face. Now, very excitingly, we have way across to the western side of Djuma, about 4.5 meters away from where we are now, Stephen, and he wants to say hello.
And welcome and welcome and welcome back to the Sabi Sands. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined once again by the Wildebeest VM on camera. It is a glorious afternoon this side with temperatures of 38 degrees Celsius, and that is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you who are out there in the cold, please feel for us in the heat of the day here. But we have good news, because on the horizon There seems like there is a storm brewing. It is coming from the west, which is a good sign. Possibly a thunderstorm. There's definitely, because of the heat, and I kind of mentioned it this morning, that when you get a few hot days like what we've had, and today is an absolute scorcher, then quite often that evening is interrupted by a beautiful thunderstorm. Nice conditions, cools everything down. You can actually feel there's a bit of a breeze starting to pick up from the west, which is really, really welcome. Just had a little bird there, but he took off, did he, Via? Yeah. We had a woodland kingfisher, folks, but he took off. So welcome once again. We're on safari in Djuma, Kruger National Park, Private Nature Reserve Djuma. We're going to be making our way down to where Tristan last had the wild dogs this morning. There were reports of Tingana this morning, late on in the morning. He was possibly found. We moved in the area there. It is very hot. There's no sign of him anywhere to be seen. So we are going to go down towards Chitwa, see if we can see what the wild dogs are up to. And maybe the prince himself might give us a show. And while we look, we are going to basically drive on our way. And please feel free to send through your comments and questions on the hashtag Safari Live and follow the YouTube stream. Shall we hit it, V? It is time to get moving, get the wind in our faces. Yes, we are looking for animals today, folks, and they will be hiding in the shade. The temperatures, as I said, are extremely warm. So if anything is out and about, it is just for a brief moment, as it maybe scurries somewhere to have a drink. But while we continue down towards Chitwa, I believe Mr. Henry has got more than just a wildebeest, he's also got a lizard.
There is a lizard. There it is, just to the right of. He's crawling out of the right there. Yes, there he is. Now, I believe we had a few questions. Oh, great activity. What's he caught? Oh, vicious thrashing. Kit Kat, you say, how often do lizards lay eggs? Once a year is the answer to that. And do they care for their young? Well, just like with humans, it does depend on the individual. Some of them take out education insurance immediately that their eggs hatch and put their names down at salubrious private schools. Others are neglectful and their children basically have to raise themselves. So it really does depend on the individual. Clearly I'm being deeply facetious right now. I actually don't know the answer to that. I think they do. I'm just going to read quickly for you in order to find out. They, once a year in good conditions, 20 to 60 eggs, and they only hatch 4 to 6 months after being laid. Isn't that interesting? And it doesn't say whether there is parental care. I should know that. I think you'll find very limited parental care, in fact, probably none. Lynn, you want to know what it weighs. I think you'll probably find that it weighs... I cannot see what it's eating. I think it's catching dragonflies. So, Lynn, I would say it weighs in the region of, I'm going to say 3 kilograms, which is about 7 pounds. Maybe a bit more. He's not a very big one. They'll get twice that size sometimes. This is really fascinating. I've got no idea what he's trying to eat. Normally, of course, their diet consists largely of sort of frogs. Maybe it's frogs he's got in there. Crabs sometimes. We did actually find a crab here once crossing the main road. And of course we used to have Pinchy Weiner, the crab's hole, which we used to investigate quite regularly. This is the best lizard sighting I've ever had. The best part of it, of course, is that I'm not having to drive around in the blazing sunlight. I'm going to go with frogs. I think that's what he's trying to catch. Now Seanak, lots of difficult questions being tossed my way today. Oh, he's digging now. Seanak, you want to know what kind of frogs? Well, in a frog like this, I guess you would get leopard toads, not leopard toads, eastern olive toads. You'd probably find some bubbling cassinas, snoring puddle frogs, I suspect. You might find some sand frogs. They'd probably be further away from the water than this, though. You would find some grassveld frogs, I suspect. Let me just go through the list of what other frogs we might find here. The book my mum gave me. You might find a foam nest frog as well, except I don't think you'd find them resting where... There's the recalcitrant kingfisher coming back. I don't think you'll find them lurking this close to the water. They'll normally move away, probably, and onto some taller vegetation than that. You could find a painted reed frog in theory, probably not in this particular pan. Yeah, so that's a pretty good sort of look at the kinds of things you'll get here. I wonder what he's found. He could have found a little nest. He might be trying to dig out some burrowing frog. See how he's very vigilant. He looks up every so often just to check. The atmosphere now is changing completely. This vast bank of cloud is suddenly coming up from the west. It's really quite almost eerie, but most welcome. And as it's come up, the wildebeest have moved off down towards the other waterhole, not wanting to drink here. I think probably because we're here more than for any other reason. There they are. Right, we're going to probably sit here a few more minutes while we do that. I've been asked to link to Taylor, and this is what she has. Let me describe it in one word. Blah, blah.
That was the best description I've ever heard of a yellow-billed stork. But to me it looks like a pelican, the way that it's sitting up on that bank, especially when it does that. And I was actually going to say, look everybody, it's a pelican. And then I thought, I better not be ridiculous. But that's not why we stopped here. I have to reverse in order to show you why we really stopped here. To watch me try and go into reverse. Have a look. Fuzzman Sparkles, I hope you're watching. We have your heron with some hippos. There we go. Finally. So thank you for sending on that request this morning. Even though I couldn't show you on the sunrise safari. You got both. We got the hippo opening its mouth, splashing around. And then we finally got the Goliath heron. The largest heron in the world, I tell you. Now, there's another heron, in fact, which I don't think Wild Earth has ever put on screen before. It's called a purple heron. Now, it's the only other heron that looks similar in terms of the coloration to a Goliath heron. And they are much smaller, almost half the size. But it's not really doing much justice, but its head, on both species, is almost like a rustishy purple-grey color. Which is quite nice, which is an easy way to tell the difference, because the grey heron and the black-headed heron don't have those colours on them at all. And then they're quite stripy on their chest too. But you'll just see their colours are just slightly different. Even as you go down towards the breast of the bird too, it turns into that sort of purplish grey colour that I'm talking about. But they're tall birds. They can stand anywhere between 1.4 and about 1.5 metres, give or take a little, give or take a few centimetres. So that's a pretty tall bird. I reckon if I were to stand next to it, it would probably take me to my chest, almost my chest, which is crazy. But they are such patient hunters. You can see it's standing on 1.5 legs at the moment. It hasn't got its full weight down on, I can't tell you which leg it is. That's too confusing. It's back right leg, and, well, not back right leg because they only have 2 pairs of legs. On its right leg, 1 pair of legs. What is wrong with me? Goodness, girl, get it together. And I think that it's hoping that with all the hippos being around, that some food might be chased towards it, from fish, to small terrapins, baby crocodiles, anything along those lines. The Goliath herons will eat. They've got a massive beak. Actually, I wonder how long their beak is. I'm going to look on my bird app very quickly. I don't know if it says how long their beaks are, but I mean, just looking at it, they're massive. Joy, you've said that this is a new bird for you. Congratulations. That is fantastic. I'm so glad we can keep adding to the bird lists. Ooh, Ladybird, you said that this is also bird number 100 for you. That's a nice round figure. Congratulations to the two of you. That is really good. My phone is now freezing, so I'm just having a look. I don't have the measurements of bird beaks, but I shall try and find that. It'd be interesting to know, in comparison to the other herons, how much more beak it has, how much more stabbing power, spearing power it actually has. But being very, very patient. We were here just now. It was not around, so it's only just arrived. Okay, I want to show you a picture very quickly. I'm just doing 500 things. Who wants to see Ralph stuck? I bet you're all going, me, me, me. Hang on, before I do that, hang on, I have to do something. Give it a good old wipe, because I've got sunscreen on my hands, and I think I've left all that residue now on my screen. There we go. There's Ralph. Well, you can't see Ralph, but you can see his car. It kind of looks like the last time I was, well, 2 times ago, when I was stuck down in the Maasai Mara reserves. So there we go. It's so great, isn't it? Amazing. Right. Let me move my phone now. There we go. So it seems as though birds are on the brain of all the guides today, us included. James is now following in suit. He's also got a rather large bird that likes to stand on 2 legs.
Birds on the brain is better than having a bird brain, which I'm very pleased Taylor did not tell me I had. I thought she might after my marshmallow king and queen comment. Ha 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 ha. That, of course, is a sadly billed stork that you're looking at. And there's something quite, and a wildebeest. There's something quite interesting about that sadly billed stork. More so than the wildebeest, I feel. And I've not noticed it before. It's a female, that I have noticed before, and you know that because she's got yellow eyeshadow around her eyes. But the slight gap in her, between the top and bottom mandibles, so between her top and bottom beaks, there's a slight gap there. And it reminded me, of course, of the open bill that Tristan found the other day at Chitwa. And it managed to open up a mussel and eat that, a freshwater mussel, which I didn't even realize occurred around these parts. And I wonder, we've just seen that stork try and eat something that looked fairly white at this distance, and I wonder if it wasn't the same sort of thing. So let's have a look-see. The wildebeesties have had their drinky. And Post-Sider, you say that it's such a pretty bird. That it is. It's a stunning bird. Endangered bird. Many of the storks are. Not as much as the cranes, but these storks are endangered. And it's always a little bit worrying when you see one like this, because they should occur in pairs. They do choose to live in pairs if they can. Maybe this one's just had a fight with her husband, who has irritated her to the point that she's unable to spend time with him right now. She's told him he'll never understand, and she's flown off in high dudgeon. That, of course, my dear, is because he will never understand. You're just going to have to be patient with him. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Just patient. They're simply not as clever as you are. Matt, you're wondering if those sort of bubbly things in the water are raindrops. They most certainly are not raindrops. I think, you say, is it insects or things living in the water? I think there are insects. I think also that there's quite a lot of gas being released from the mud underneath, from the activity of the fish and the frogs and that sort of thing that are sort of trying to eke out a living in that rapidly drying water. There are terrapins under there. There's a lot of life underneath the surface, and I think that's what's sort of breaking the surface tension. Alrighty, I think that as we now have a little bit of shade from this large cloud, we should press on from here. Our next port of call is going to be Treehouse Dam, which is not too far from here. I'm hoping that we'll find some elephants over there. That would be very nice. We may just find one limping Egyptian goose, however. Let's go and see. Are you ready, David? David is ready, everybody, in case you were worried. Right, well, while we get there, Steve Ovo is on his way to Chitwa Dam and hopefully some wild doggies.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Indeed, we are on our way down. I believe you have got intentions of going past Treehouse Dam. We have decided just to pop in there on the way down just to see who knows what is happening. It's just a bit of a view as well. We had a wonderful little sounder of warthogs just before, but they don't stick around very long. And I was wondering and chatting with VM, and he had the same sort of thoughts as me before, that I wonder if the warthogs associate the vehicles with leopards. Maybe they watch Safari Live as well and notice all the leopards that we see, because I have not seen a warthog stick around for more than about 5 seconds in this area. So maybe they are YouTube subscribers as well. I wonder how they tweet with those little feet, but an interesting thought to ruminate over. But we are not far from Treehouse Dam, so I do believe, James, we might beat you there. But something we do have to do, we have to be quite careful, because the storm looks like it is really moving in very, very quickly. I mean, the sun is almost obliterated, and we are very happy about that. But we do have a lot of expensive camera equipment on the vehicle. I don't mind myself personally getting wet. I am waterproof. But we might have to rush home if we do have any activity with regards to rainfall. We might have to rush all the way back to put a roof on and cover ourselves, just in case. But we're going to keep an eye on that rainfall, and we will keep you updated. We're about to get to Treehouse Dam now. Always a good spot for elephants. But really the temperatures are changing, folks. I wonder if you were able to feel it out here. It would be wonderful. It has just dropped by about 2 or 3 degrees already. I'm not feeling as melted to my seat as I was about 5-6 minutes ago. And we are constantly scanning and scanning and scanning. Well, there's nothing over here, so I'm going to let Mr. Henry continue with his effort to come here. Scarlett has a question, so how bad are the storms? Well, we can get thunderstorms and the rain can come in, and it is quite interesting because sometimes the rain can be very, very sort of one place. Sometimes it can rush through the whole of the low veld and it can really wet everywhere, and sometimes you can see it just go straight by you, lightning and everything. So I wouldn't say that they're bad. I grew up in Johannesburg where we get wonderful lightning storms. If you're not used to having beautiful lightning storms and very loud cracking sounds, it's something to get used to, but I was born like that. I grew up like that. I think I actually sleep quite well in that sort of rain, but I wouldn't say that they're bad. It's actually very important for the nitrogen fixation. The nitrogen gets delivered back into the soil with the lightning. The storms can be quite quick, 15 minutes, 2 hours. It all depends on how much rain. Oh, there's a beautiful bird, my favorite bird in the whole world. Where is he? Oh, he's landed over there, V. Can you see him? He's just at 2 o'clock. Let me just move forward. This is my favorite little bird in the whole world, folks. Can you see him there, V? Just over my shoulder on that little log with the little red tail. There he is. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my favorite little bird. It's called the green-winged Pytilia. Oh, way to go. It is indeed a beautiful bird. We've got a couple other little birds jumping around, but the Pytilia is gone. I don't know if you noticed, just really briefly, its beak was open. That's because it's very hot still. They have no ability to sweat like we do. What have you got there, V? Are you looking, eh? Oh, he's gone very, very quick. I'm surprised we managed to get that on film. That is one of those birds that just disappears really, really quickly. It's the reason I wear binoculars on my chest. It's the reason why guides should have binoculars at the ready, because they can come and they can go very, very quickly. But onwards we go. Chitwa Dam awaits, and yes, we are loving it. We are loving it. So that used to be known as the Melba finch. It is a very small little finch-like bird, as the name implies, but it's been renamed the green-winged Pytilia, and the coloration on him is just sensational. I'm glad you all got a visual. If there's anyone out there who didn't get a look, please just comment and I'll show you a little picture on my phone app. And it is a little seed-eating bird, often found in mixed feeding flocks with waxbills and other finches and sparrow-like birds on the ground feeding on seeds. And this is a time of plenty. It is a common bird in the area and it does not migrate away. It does stay. And they will be rebreeding quite soon. Sure, temperatures are so much more pleasant right now. I think the birds are noticing. They can feel the storm is in the air. There's that eerie feeling that the light is changing. You can probably see it on the camera. The light is changing. I absolutely love... Whoa, sorry, we have a roadblock. And you see them? There we go. Little crested francolin walking around. Apologies for my head. You see that white supercilium, that eye stripe, characterizes or makes it different from the Natal spurfowl, the black beak rather than a red beak, and they feed on seeds, insects. Not sure what they were busy plucking off there. Possibly little caterpillars that have been hatched and growing underneath and feeding on the leaves. Oh no, it's the whiteberry bush. It is feeding on the berries of the whiteberry bush. I didn't notice because none are very white. That's why when we find them and the berries are white, I try to eat them, because there's so many animals out here, birds and monkeys, that feed on those berries that you've got to get to them really quickly, because they're feeding on them when they're unripe now. So you've got to feed on them when they're white, otherwise they're very sour pips inside. But these birds can digest them, and then those seeds are then distributed. That plant is now going through a symbiotic relationship with that bird. That bird has eaten the seed, and it has taken the flesh off of the fruit. It's the reward the bird gets for eating the fruit, and then it'll distribute those seeds in the next few hours far away from the parent plant. It's important for plants to move their babies away. If all the babies grew at their feet, they could be competing with light, sunshine, water, nutrients, moisture. So, you know, at some stage you've got to kick the babies out the nest, and they've got to fledge on their own, and plants do that by fruiting. So whenever you eat a fruit, think about it. The seeds are designed to go somewhere else, and that is the entire purpose. Okay, so we have Taylor up in the Maasai Mara. We're going to be going across to her, I believe, shortly, where it is colder than here in Djuma, a lot colder. And I think she's driving in the cold. I'm not sure what she's up to, but I had a little giggle just now at Ralph, because Ralph is stuck, and Ralph is obviously properly stuck. He is properly stuck. We've got some birds there. They are enjoying the last thermals in the afternoon. There we go, that's a vulture. Anybody see which vulture that is? Okay folks, so while these birds soar, we're going to be going up north to Taylor, who's driving around in the cool of the Mara.
It's cool, but at least we've got the golden light out this afternoon, so not too bad. We passed Hippo Pools and we found our Lioness. I thought she'd disappeared. All she did was she just climbed onto the top of the embankment, making it virtually impossible for us to see. I could just see this tanned figure laying behind a small thicket. So I thought, okay, rather than waiting for her, let's go up to the next set of lions, which are slightly closer to the road, and I think we might have a bit more luck with. And also, if they move, they're going to move onto off-roading area, which is good, and it suits us a little bit better. But I'm trying to find that crown crane nest that I first spotted. And what I need from you, I'm asking you all lots of favors today, thank you and sorry. Can anybody remember when I first found it? And we noticed that she was nesting. I just want to get the date, because we need to try and work out when those chicks should hatch. I mean, there's of course a possibility with that crown crane that none of those eggs are going to make it, that they are predated on by water monitors, by hyena, by lions, by lots of different animals, or just did all the chicks get eaten already. But I haven't seen her sitting on it again. But I also, to be honest, I can't really remember where on this road it was. But I'm looking. I'm trying my best to find it. But if you guys can find that out for me in the meantime, that would be fantastic. That would be really good. So just so that I have an idea in the back of my head. Remember to always hashtag Safari Live. Now I just stared into the sun. That probably wasn't too good. There is the vehicle coming up ahead. So I'm going to pass them. Probably going to try and get around them. We're going to keep going until we get to those lions, just because the weather has turned so nicely now. It's nice and cool, as Steve was saying. Right, I'm just going to pass through here, wave to all the nice people. Hello, nice people. They didn't wave back at me. That's a New Year's resolution. Here we go. I'm going to create another. Did I come up with one already? I think I may have said one the other day. I've already forgotten what it was. But I wave at everybody and everything. It's just my thing. Done it since I was little. My mom has always told me to wave at people. Oh, okay, cool. I will not be disheartened this year, this 2018, when people do not wave back. Because I get a little bit sad when people don't wave back. I don't know why people find that so strange. Just different types of waves. Queen wave. I don't know how other people wave. Wash the windows. I wouldn't wave like that. I just do the classic. Sometimes I end up doing a queen wave. Manu and I play games with all the people visiting the Maasai Mara. They don't know us. They don't know how crazy we are. So we play a stage. We wave normally, and then if one person waves back, then you go to the next level. Then you do the queen's wave, and if they wave back to that, then you get more like sort of ridiculous with your waves. We don't normally end up getting further than the Queen's wave, unfortunately. Perhaps I need to work on my technique. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But anyways, that's always fun to keep us entertained. I'm just going to keep searching around here. I'm keeping an eye out for those lions because they're somewhere around here at some point. I believe you're all still thinking. I bet you're all digging in the archives now, the photo archives, as to where on earth and when did we see that crown crane. Was it the same day that we saw the juvenile martial eagle eating the water monitor? Was it that same day? I'm trying to think. I think it may have even been before then. Not that I could tell you when that was either. Like I said, time flies. Okay, we're going to keep heading down this way towards the small sausage tree pride of lions, I hope. And it'll take us a little while to get there. James, however, is also on a Sabi Sand bumble. James, are there any caterpillars on the Weltharias? That's what I'd like to know.
That's the one, David. That's that, you've got it there, middle of your screen. Beautiful. Now, I have decided to go and do a patrol of the hyena dens. I didn't realize Stivovo was going to Treehouse Dam. And so what we did was go to... What? Are there any caterpillars on the Waltheria? This comes from Taylor McCurdy. Not that I've seen, my dear, no. I will search them out for you, however. Acria, we'd expect to find. Now, what was I waffling on about? Hyenas, yes. I came to check the Gallagher Shortcut Den, and now we're going to the Mvuburo Den, because a hyena dragged that elephant afterbirth from yesterday. If you weren't with us yesterday, Tristan just missed an elephant birth. and the afterbirth was there, and it was picked up by a hyena and dragged all the way past our camp yesterday evening. And that is normally the behavior of a female taking it back to some cubs at a den. And so I'm wondering if we don't perhaps have an active den that we don't know about here. So we're going to check all the known sites and then see what else we can see. I will certainly look for caterpillars on Waltherias, but I have seen very little on the Waltherias, and I've been watching them quite carefully on walk. Okay, we're going to lose some signal here, and regardless of that, Stivovo has managed to find himself some gammon.
Gammon indeed. Gammon indeed. So this suddenly proves Vildes and my theory completely wrong. Or maybe this old boar is quite boring and doesn't watch Safari Live, because he doesn't seem to be at all worried about this vehicle. A question I meant to pose to all of you out there, and I apologize for not posing it before the break, but send your comments through. Anybody identify that bird that was flying just before? Please send your comments through and see how many of you were able to identify that beautiful large flying creature. But here we have a male warthog. You could tell that by the testicles behind and underneath his tail. That is a dead giveaway. And secondly, you can see the 2 pairs of warts on each side of his face. You can see that, and those warts are where the name comes from, and the main purpose of the warts, actually extensions of the skull, is to prevent those tusks when these boars fight. When they fight, they are quite aggressive, and they lift each other up, and those warts prevent the tusks from coming up and endangering his eye. So, Nat, you ask, would wild dogs attack a warthog? Most certainly they would, but a boar like this, they'd be hard pressed, I'd say, because if he turns around with those tusks, they're very powerful neck. If you see how he's feeding there, his neck is very low down. They've got a very powerful neck. I've seen warthog males fighting head on, and one completely flipped the other one over onto his back. Very, very powerful. I'm not saying wild dogs wouldn't. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before. I'm not sure. But they are very fast. He'll generally try and run towards a burrow, and then when all else fails, he'll turn and face his oppressor, or his pursuer, should I say. Not the smartest of animals, but very instinctive. And I think he's been for a little bit of a mud wallow. But we are not far from where we last saw the wild dogs, and I also believe that little Husana is in the area somewhere, but there's been no sign on the radio of these animals. So we will see if we have any luck. But you can clearly see the boar is grazing, and his bottom teeth, or little tusk-like appendage, is very, very sharp. Hello folks, good afternoon. Beautiful. Not too boring, I hope, eh? Sorry, I'm cracking jokes with one of the vehicles from the Korokoro Bush Lodge. Beautiful. He is just muscle, folks. He's absolute muscle. And you can see he is grazing. Karen asks why aren't warthogs hunted for their tusks, and it's not ivory. It's not true ivory. But that is a good question. I mean, they are the same sort of design as elephants. Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I do know that there is a value to warthog tusks, but nowhere in the range of elephant tusks. Mainly because elephant tusks, I think it's got a lot to do with weight. It's not ivory. It's not ivory. But he's quite aware. But I was saying before, I don't know if you can get right in on that face, Vilde, but what is that? That looks like a steenbok coming through there. Yes, it is. It's a little steenbok. It's quite low in the grass, and it's giving the warthog the impression of a leopard. And you can't be too careful. Here he's going to investigate. See, it's not uncommon for a herbivore like this to actually, especially a big male warthog, to sort of chase a leopard, to show him that he's strong, to show him he's not scared, and as soon as he is afraid of the leopard or feels maybe running is a better option, he will turn and flee. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Another vehicle from Kruger Bush Lodge. But the teeth, actually, the action of his mouth coming up and down, he's got these smaller teeth just underneath the tusks. You can just see them there. Look at that. Those are the ones to worry out for. Every time he opens his mouth, that lower jaw tooth, I forget the name right now, is sharpening itself against the top one, and if he had to swing at you and open his mouth, that would sever any artery, any skin. It would completely tear through whatever it actually, whatever it hits. Extremely powerful head, very sharp tusks or tushes, and those lower jaw canines, what are they called? I'm forgetting right now. I'm having a blank moment. I apologize, but that is the dangerous part of the warthog. Kobe, aged 15, it's a very good question. He asks, how dangerous are warthogs on foot? And the only time you have to worry about them is if you are walking past an aardvark hole or a termite mound with a burrow in the ground, and you stick your head in front, because these guys, they go in backwards and they come out frontwards, and it would knock you over and it would hurt you, but they would run away. They do always run away when they see you. It makes quite a frightening sound when they move because they're very powerful animals. When I was training trails guides many years ago, well, a few years ago, many times the students who were walking in the front would actually lift their rifle because a warthog would run to or past them, and the noise and the sound and the size, just that sort of size, it always gives you the impression of something that's quite dangerous. But it's just the movement, the quickness of the movements, and they're generally always fleeing away. So not dangerous. I've never had any dangerous encounters with warthogs, but I did once have a student who nearly got cleaned up by a warthog. We were investigating the site of a lion kill. The lions had killed a female warthog not far from this little sort of termite burrow tunnel network, and we were looking at it, and we basically had stopped, and I was with students, and we were trying to find, and the one leg was there and the carcass was all over the place, and we'd seen where the warthog had come from. It'd probably come out of the burrow, and the lions had got it. They'd been stalking around the burrow, and so while I was a little bit away from the burrow, the one student decided to have a peek inside after being told not to, and a student's name was Paul Lyons. He's out there somewhere, and he regales the story far better than I do, with a lot of body posturing. But the warthog came out, another warthog, who'd probably been in there the entire night, hearing its mother or sister or whatever it was being eaten alive by lions, now suddenly came out and found itself face to face with 5 or 6 humans. And it kind of leapt out of the hole, almost like a cartoon, with all 4 legs spinning in the air. And as it hit the floor, it just took off directly for the student who did the most amazing matrix sidestep. And the warthog went straight past his leg, and he was fine. But the story will never, ever be forgotten. I saw it, I was shocked, I suddenly was powerless to do anything about it. But luckily he was quite nimble. I'm sure he did a bit of yoga. But that was a very close shave. And there are stories of trails guides who've been in the bush for 27, 28 years. No incident with a dangerous animal, but they've had a guest who's been flattened by one of these coming out of the very same hole we were talking about. So that is where you have to be careful. Don't stick your head around the corner or stand in front of a burrow. You don't know what could be in there. And when they want to come out, they come out face first and very fast. So folks, this is an awesome sighting of a male boar. He's probably been wallowing to keep himself cool, as I would love to as well. The spa is just over there, but we're going to carry on down to Chitwa Dam, see if we can get any more information about the wild dogs. And I believe Mr. Henry is up to something. I'm not sure what, so let's go over to him and see what he has for you this afternoon.
I think we're live. Are we live? Oh, hello everybody, we're live. Not sure how we became so live so fast, but here we are. And luckily I didn't drop any nasty words, which has happened before. Over here we have the hyena den off Mvubu Road, and I'm afraid there is nothing there. I thought maybe there would be some hyena there, but there are no hyena there. We did go off on foot. We found a few tracks of what possibly were warthogs about 6 decades ago, but otherwise very little going on here. And David was just saying, why aren't they here? This is the most sort of wonderful neighbourhood for a hyena to live in. And they obviously don't have the same tastes as David and I do as far as accommodation goes. Anyway, so we've given up here, and now we're going to head across to Beefleshoek Dam and see if we can find one hippopotamus and one three-banded plover. There have got to be some elephants somewhere around who need a drink today. This is the perfect day to be sitting next to a waterhole watching elephants. Hello, Hampus? Was it Hampus? Hello, Hampus. You want to know how big the Sabi Sand? The Sabi Sands is about 60,000 hectares or so, which, if you multiply it by 2.4, will give you roughly, I suppose, 140,000 acres. Now, we are operating at Djuma. Djuma is, if I'm not mistaken, 1,200 hectares, which, if you multiply by 2.4, gets you to roughly 3,000 acres. That's what we're operating on Djuma, and then about half of that again on Chitwa. So that's the extent of our traversing in the Sabi Sands. Luckily, a very game-dense region, and I mean, we've had in the last 2 days we've had leopards, wild dogs, elephants, lions. We had this morning, so lots going on here. The Maasai Mara, of course, 150,000 hectares on its own. If you multiply that by 2.4, you're sitting at roughly 450,000 acres. That is a big piece of land that we're allowed to explore, that side. I must confess, I was quite worried when we went to the Mara. I thought to myself, well, you know, our patch at Djuma is going to seem fairly insignificant after the Mara, and it really hasn't. The intimacy of this area is just really noticeable compared with the, well, spectacular, no doubt, Mara. It just doesn't feel quite as intimate. There we have some impalas. There are those antelope things there, David. There we are. Well done. 2 males. And you can tell that they are now 2 and a bit years old. Their horns have yet to do the final swish out. So basically, of course, because we know they're born in the beginning of December, call them December the 1st. In the first year, there won't be any twist in the horn. There'll just be 2 sort of horns facing each other. And in the second year, they will start to have the twist that they do now. And after this, in another year's time, they'll just start to get wider at roughly that shape. Zish, you're wondering what type of species impala are. Well, they're antelope, so that's the family that they belong to. They don't have any close relatives. They're very ancient creatures, and so they don't really have any close relatives at all. I don't know if I can be any more useful than that to you. Zish. So they're an antelope species. There's no other representative of the genus they fit into. So every creature out here has got what we call a binomial name. It means it's got a genus and a species name, the most obvious of those being Homo sapiens, that's us. And impala, for example, are Apsirus melampus, and there is no other Apsirus. In the same way that there's no other Homo, we are the only Homo species. There's no other Apsirus species, but if you compare that with something like Nyala, which is... Ooh, there's a little canary. Sorry, I've got a bit of attention deficit disorder. He's flown off. Never mind. Okay, so we go to the Nyala and the Kudu and the bushbuck. they are all part of the genus Tragelaphus, and they've all got their own species names. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel very free to get back to us and say, "No, James, you idiot. That is not what I was asking. Please clarify." And I shall do so with gladness in my heart, although sadness that I didn't get it right the first time. Alrighty, Steve's found a very interesting bird. Let's go and have a look.
And folks, we have found indeed a very interesting bird. This, folks, I wonder if any of you out there with your phone apps or your bird books is able to identify this. See if you can have a look. This is only the second one I've seen in about the same amount of years, so quite special to see. And it's quite easy to identify if you understand the family. Kind of got like a face of a pigeon or a dove, but it is not a dove. Got a little yellow ring around the eye, and sort of a yellow beak, and the tip is a little bit black on the end. I wonder if anyone out there can quickly tweet, tell us what they think it is before it flies away. It is a migrant. Very, very important migrant. Well, I wouldn't say important, but one of the cool migrants we get down here. Sitting in a tree, he's enjoying the coolness. It is an insectivore. Eats mainly caterpillars, as most of the birds in this family do. Lioness or Lioness, yes, indeed, it is a type of cuckoo. And which cuckoo could it be? Which cuckoo? Anybody? I wonder. I'm so happy he's sitting around. We had one the other day who flew away quite quickly, so it's quite nice that he's sitting there. I know the light's not great, folks, so I'll play the call for you. Project Alpha, no, unfortunately not a greater spotted cuckoo. The greater spotted cuckoo's got a little bit more of a crest on the head. This is fun. This is fun. Very easy when you know what it is. Oh, Wendy, close guess, not a European cuckoo. Last chance, folks, last chance before the bird flies. It goes cuckoo, cuckoo. I just played it. Eats caterpillars. We definitely know it's a cuckoo. Well done for getting that far. If the light was better, you definitely had a better chance of identifying it. Catherine, you are the winner of the first prize today. It is indeed an African cuckoo. Very, very, very nice to see. And there it flies. As we had the opportunity to identify it, it flew. Well done, Catherine, for identifying that. That is fantastic. And yes, it has come all the way from the north. It is coming to breed, coming here for the insects. Now, a question I want to ask people, because this one comes from right up in the north. How is it possible that a cuckoo can come from the north of the Sahara all the way down to South Africa and still breed, when a lot of other birds that come from north of the Sahara, European rollers, European bee-eaters, white stork, all of those birds that come far, far, far away, they come here and they don't breed? How is that possible? That is a very good question I'd like to pose to you there, and maybe you can comment and give it back to me shortly. We're going to move forward. We are at Chitwa Dam, folks. The hippos are there. There are some Egyptian geese, always here, and I saw a beautiful bird sitting in the tree, very characteristic of the African savanna. Let's see if he's still sitting there. I was actually sitting here on my interview drive in the exact same spot. Pretty sure it's moved a few times since then. So just an update on the weather. It seems like the storm is going to bypass us, but it has definitely cooled things down. It is a lot cooler, but it also means that we don't have to race home to put on the roof, which we're quite happy about. You see up in the tree there, Wildy. We all know this bird. I believe it was voted the second favorite bird for a South African. The African fish eagle. He sits perched. He's been doing a little bit of preening. You can see there's a feather hanging off of the head, probably from leaning back and doing some cleaning of the body. The feather is stuck. Perfect place for the fish eagle to be here next to the dam. Diet of mainly fish, but not only fish. Up in Etosha Pans and places like that, the fish eagle actually is quite a big predator of the flamingos up there, which is a bird that is a lot bigger than a fish eagle, and they somehow managed to pick them up and take them back to the nest, which always is quite bizarre. I find quite incredible. Yes, able to pick up prey 2 kilograms. A bird only weighs 2 kilograms. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? 2 kilograms, about just over 4 pounds. Oh, there we go. We have mommy with her babies. Now, the fish eagle would be very keen to take one of those, but the Egyptian geese are very good parents. Very good parents. You can see those little ducklings or goslings. Egyptian goose is actually a duck, not a goose, but we do call it a goose. Boggles the mind. But you can see what they are. They have hatched similar to that like chickens. They hatch out of the egg and they're able to follow mum around. And if you looked at them, you would see that they were very sort of fluffy. And the difference we have in ground nesting birds, or precocial birds as we call it. Precocial birds are those that nest on the ground. They lay eggs quite larger, and they're able to follow mum around very early. There's minimum parental care. We call those downies because of the down feathers that they have to have. They're often in a nest that's exposed to the sun, and those down feathers are there to protect them from the elements when they are just leaving the nest. Babies in nests in the tree are called hatchlings. They require lots of parental care. They are born with naked and with very closed eyes and very, very helpless. So from one animal with precocial babies to another with not precocial babies, we have James with a baboon.
This is marvellous, everyone. We're sitting here with a troop of baboons. It was very funny when we arrived. They looked like naughty kids that had been caught doing something nefarious, which most of the time, of course, baboons are, if they happen to come in contact with human beings. But they're not doing anything nefarious. Now they're eating white berries. They're trying to fill their bellies with as much white berry bush as they can. And they've also been turning over logs and looking for scorpions and grubs and other little things that they might find lurking underneath the wood. That's very cool. They're just sitting in the long grass there. Let me go a little bit forward. They do tend to get a little bit sort of scared when we move around them too much. But if you can get them for any length of time, you will almost certainly be thoroughly amused by what you see. Kit Kat, you say, do they make a nest or shelter or sleep on the ground? Well, again, a bit like I was saying with the lizards earlier, it depends on the family. Some of them live in sort of palatial opulence in various complicatedly constructed shelters. I'm not talking rubbish, Kit Kat. They don't sleep on the ground. They avoid being on the ground any time after it gets vaguely dark. They'll climb up a big tree and they'll roost in the trees. They don't have a shelter. They have some sort of favoured roosting sites, so they're favourite places to sleep. But there will almost always be tall trees above drainage line areas. That's because that's where most of the tall trees are. Or sometimes on the roof of a lodge or something like that. They quite often do that too. Don't construct any kind of shelter, no. They're not that deep, nor do we think are they that intelligent. Marvellous. Very nice to find them out in the field as opposed to in the kitchen. There's another one just popping out into the open. Now, Scarlett, not very is the answer. You say, how close to baboons can you get on foot? Really not very close at all. If I was to get out of this car, they would run for their lives. They would, and that's not because I'm particularly intimidating. It's just that they don't like human beings. They know that they perceive us as predators. David's got a cough, don't you, David? You've got some pneumonia there. All right, on we go. I think he's probably laughing because of the reaction that baboons have to us in camp. I mean, you walk out of your room and there you find them sort of looking at the kitchen like this, and then they look to their mates and then they take off. And, I mean, a baboon could tear a human being apart. There's no need for them to run from us. It is just amazing how human they are in so many of their mannerisms. Alrighty, on we go down to... There are plenty of elephant tracks everywhere. None of them going in the direction that I want to go. Anyway, we might have some luck. I think what we're going to do is go to Taylor in the Maasai Mara, and I think that she has a sunset to show you.
Almost sunset, not quite just yet. What I am going to try and do for all of you is silhouette a giraffe. But they're not cooperating. They're moving downhill. Go back up. Go to the top. Turn around for 2 seconds. They're not listening to me. Anyways, thank you to James Richard, who kindly gave me the information as to when we found that crown crane nest. It was the same day as the Marshall Eagle versus Water Monitor sighting, and it was the 16th of December. So we should be seeing crown crane chicks, I think, within the next week, hopefully, if all goes well. The incubation process works. So we'll keep checking the river road. I'll tell Jamie and Brent as well, and or Rolf be on the other side of the river. I'm sure you'll find some crown cranes of his own. So we can just try and figure out exactly what they look like when they're brand new, when they're brand spanking new. I think it would be quite cool. And we can try and follow them as they get older, because I don't know how to age crown crane chicks, not even one little bit. This is the first time I've seen them. I think it's the first time Brent has seen them too. So I think it could be quite a nice learning experience. I was going to show you giraffe, but they're now escaping me and heading into the forest. It's very windy all of a sudden, so I don't think that they're enjoying the wind too much. Maybe we'll get a quick view. Let me just go up a little bit further. So, because what I want to do is I also want to turn and show you the sunset. So I just need to go a little bit ahead, and then now we have to turn. Please don't be a hole, please don't be a hole, please don't be a hole. Took a gamble there. There we go. Straight ahead. There are two giraffe, but this is the best one. And it keeps sticking its head down into the grass. I wonder what's there. And licking its lips. Maybe a nice tasty shrub. It looks like a young male. Let's see what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to drink water, if he's going to eat on a small shrub, if he's going to pick up a bone. He could be doing a number of different things. Yoga. Downward facing giraffe. Ah, that looks very much like he's trying to have a drink of water. Are you perhaps struggling there? There's a dam. Now, there is a dam very close by, maybe 150 meters away from this giraffe. So I don't know why it's trying to drink out of a small puddle when it could access the other water a lot more easy. Very thirsty though, the way it's licking his lips. Come on, make a decision. This is the most indecisive giraffe I've ever seen in my entire life. Jacqueline, you said, oh my goodness, so beautiful. That's the tone that Megan, who's directing, read it in, so I just thought I'd repeat it. I'm so glad you're so excited. It is interesting to see giraffe do these maneuvers, especially because they're so big and gangly. Look at this one, going right down, even bending its front legs. and then you can see that it is drinking water, because when it shakes its head, it gets a bit of spray. That oxpecker doesn't appreciate the neck shake so much. I can't believe that it's chosen like the most awkward spot to come and have a drink. Silly giraffe. This Maasai giraffe has got beautiful patterns on it, though. Just almost completely disappearing into the grass. It is quite special to watch them drink water. And the golden light as well, just catching the drips as they spray away from him. Very, very cool, though. We are so lucky to see this all the time. Now, okay, very quickly, because the sun is about to disappear. I almost forgot that I wanted to show you a sunset too. We have to do this because it's so beautiful. Up to the left, of course, where the sun sets down in the west, is the most gorgeous sunset, of course, silhouetted with all the trees and the Olololo escarpment. All we need now are some tall creatures walking on top of that hill. That would be beautiful then. That would be the real cherry on top now, wouldn't it? I can't believe how windy it's turned out to be today. It's interesting. Anyways, it's been a good day nonetheless, though. It's always nice to start your day with a sunrise, and we had... was I on game drive this morning? What did I even see? I can't even remember what I saw this morning. But anyways, I'm pretty sure we watched the sunrise a little bit. It was a bit cloudy. Or was that the other morning? I can't remember. We did have the sunrise this morning. Yes, we did. I'm going crazy. This day has just flown by. Anyways, it was a great one. Yes, we had the balloons. Thank you so much for reminding me, Adrian. I can't even remember what I did this morning. I couldn't even tell you what I ate for breakfast today. But there it goes. Just sitting behind the escarpment now. And it goes down so quickly. I don't think it's going to be a magnificent sunset like some of the ones we've had. There are a few clouds in the sky, but not as spectacular as we've seen before. I think our sunrise this morning was a lot better. But let's carry on. We've got to keep going up the hill. Oh my... Look, you've asked such a difficult question. I don't know, I need to think about this one. It's if you could ask one animal one question, what would it be? Probably going to be an elephant. The animal that I asked. What am I going to ask the elephant? I need a moment to think about this very quickly. Let me just gather my thoughts, because that's tough. Only one. I'd ask, is there a genie involved? Can I ask for 100 more questions? I wish it was something like that. But okay, one question. Does it tickle when you slurp water up your trunk? I think I would sneeze a lot. That's what I would ask an elephant, if it tickles. How does it do that? Amazing. And then when it sprays it out, does it still tickle? I think I could have thought of a better question. There's so many things I'd love to ask an elephant, and a lion, and a leopard, and a hyena. I wish I could just have the power to speak to all the animals. I would have the greatest safari ever. You would never see me inside. I think a lot of people would be quite happy if I could speak to animals, because then I would stop bothering them and nagging them and trying to get as much attention from certain people as possible. So there we go. Somebody give me the power to speak to animals, pretty please. I think it would be amazing to be able to do it. That's my one wish. People want to fly. People want to be super wealthy, all these different types of things. I just want to talk to all the animals. That's all I want to do. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would also want to do that. Make sure we don't fall into these ruts. Done that before. Don't want to be repeating the same mistake. Can't have two people getting stuck in one day. Right. It has been a day of many feathered friends up here in the Mara, as well as down in the Sabi Sand, and Steve has got another one to add to today's list.
Welcome back, folks. Please don't go away. Sorry, that was a bit of a joke. We have got a go-away bird here with us, and he is panting quite viciously, if that is the right word for it. There he is. He's also busy feeding as he moves around. enjoy seeds and berries. Quite a frugivore. Not so much of an insect eater. There he's also eating fresh shoots off of that little knobthorn tree. But the name go away, they actually say it. In Afrikaans, it's called a kwekwevoël, because that's actually what they say in... They go kwee, kwee. They don't go away, but we have translated as the go-away bird. But a beautiful bird nonetheless. A lot of people would ask why it is not a turako anymore, or a luri. Interesting question. Why is it not a turako? Does anybody out there know? First of all, it is very grey. Panting, panting, panting. Beautiful birds though. The shape and the size, everything about them is very turako-like, but they don't have the coloration, folks. They don't have the coloration. And I believe there's a question being asked there. If I could ask an animal one question, what would it be? Wow, that is a very good question. I would wonder if you know, the amount of times I've seen leopards lying there with their belly in the air, I'd ask him if I could scratch that for him. I don't know if it's a wise choice, but it's not the best answer in the world, the best question in the world, but that's what I came up with in a short space of time. This is a wonderful view of these go-away birds. See that panting. And little ant running along. He's not going to eat the ant though, folks.